Welcome to this week's edition of Outdoors Online, a weekly webcast produced by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. I'm your host, Tom Jensen. Deer applications are available. People are working out their strategies to give them the best odds to get drawn this year. My guest is Jeb Williams. Jeb is, of course, the Wildlife Division Chief at Game and Fish. We're going to talk about the deer lottery this year. Jeb, I'm sure most people know by now we're giving out a few more licenses this year.
Yeah, close to 6,000 total license in addition to last year, Tom, which is a good thing. I think from a morale standpoint, it's a good thing for people that want that opportunity out in the field. We know as a department that it's a big deal to people in North Dakota when it comes to deer hunting, and so seeing more people being able to participate in that treasured time is a really good thing.
It's just nice to see that trend going up instead of.
That's another issue, is that, you know, for the first time in 8 years now we're going in a positive direction, and that's a nice feeling to be able to see those licenses actually go in a positive direction rather than having continue to make cuts to try to stabilize that population to get it going in the right direction.
Sure seems like we see more deer on the landscape, at least anecdotally, people that are traveling and seeing them in the field. What are your surveys actually showing?
Well, for last year and this year, Tom, for our white-tailed deer, our winters were so mild that we were not able to do any aerial surveys, and so we have
to have snow.
That's right. You have to have snow. You have to have a good amount of snow to be able to see deer and do it in an accurate way. And so we really have had to rely heavily on our hunter questionnaires and then some of our other aspects of what we include as far as helping to determine deer numbers, whether that be our field staff out in the field, our game wardens, and our wildlife division folks. Obviously, public input, landowner input that's out there, and so one of the things on our harvest surveys, a hunter questionnaire, is the hunter observation, and so over the years that has really started to add another data point for us, which is very good, and especially on years when we don't have the aerial information. Now for mule deer, we get that aerial survey every year, both in the spring and the fall, and so we feel comfortable with that. Obviously the mule deer herd is doing very well, and again, that's a really nice thing since it kind of bottomed out here in 2009 and 2010, and it's really been making a nice comeback.
Are there areas that are showing larger gains than others?
Well, for mule deer, actually, we're seeing increase in the southern Badlands. We're seeing increase in the northern Badlands. It has been a nice increase throughout. There are some pockets in there that are maybe not as doing well as others. And then for our whitetail population, it's really scattered. The Northeast is we didn't do anything with the licenses in the Northeast. Kept those the way they are. It's maybe been a little slower recovery up there, but that's a part of the state that does get a little bit more winter, even when the rest of the state doesn't get anything, and so I think it can maybe be attributed to that a little bit as well.
How long does it generally take, Jeb, for the deer herd to replenish itself, weather permitting, of course?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. I mean, there's a lot of variables that play into that. Like you said, weather being a main one, and
habitat,
a lot of our research in North Dakota shows that winter weather is one of the main drivers and factors as far as deer populations go, and then habitat conditions, no doubt. In the state right now with our whitetail deer. The landscape just can't support as many white-tailed deer as it once did. Say in 2005, 2006, approximately 10 years ago, when we had record numbers of licenses. The landscape just isn't able to support that many deer.
You mentioned mule deer have had some nice increases. What do you attribute that to?
Well, we've been very conservative, obviously, with our mule deer doe harvest. Mule deer and whitetail are a lot different when it comes to their reproductive capability, and so we've been very conservative with our mule deer doe licenses since 2012. For all of our Badlands units, we have not allocated any license for that area, and so that has definitely helped a lot. But again, having some very mild winters out in the western part of the state goes a long way when it comes to mule deer.
Even though we did increase license numbers, as you mentioned, by almost 6,000, there are still some units in the state where people might not get drawn, and these are people that are used to getting drawn for a buck tag every year, but they might not get drawn for anything, much less a buck tag.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is we're increasing license by almost 6,000. The bad news is last year we still had close to 40,000 people that did not get a license at all, and so that bar is obviously going to be moved a little bit, but you know, there's still going to be upward of 35,000 people that are still going to get turned down completely. We know there's still a lot of interest in the deer lottery out there with the number of applicants that we receive annually. And so there's no doubt that people, if they're interested in just participating in the deer hunt, there are some things they can do to increase their odds. And number one is applying for a doe license, for an antlerless license. That's a big thing. And we know the majority of people in North Dakota, of course, would like to have a buck tag in their pocket, but that's not realistic. And so if people just want to participate and be a part of that hunt, by applying for an antlerless license significantly increases your chances, or by looking at perhaps other units in the state too. And I don't want to give away any secrets. I think that's up to people to do their own homework on that as far as some of those units that might be easier draws and that type of thing. But there are some units in the state that are much easier to draw in by applying, say, for your first choice whitetail buck than other parts of the state.
You mentioned lottery applications are available now. First of all, when is the deadline? And second of all, when can people expect to find out if they got drawn?
Sure. The deadline is the first Wednesday in June, and this year it falls on June 1st.
June 1st.
And then the results should be out towards the end of July, Tom.
All right, so everybody just keep their fingers crossed and
hope for the best.
Thanks, Jeb. There will be more deer licenses available this year than last. The department is making 49,000 licenses available in the 2016 lottery, which is an increase of 5,725 licenses. Applications are now available for the lottery. You can apply online by logging onto the Game & Fish website at gf.nd.gov. Follow the links, fill out the application, and pay the fee with a credit card. You can also fill out a paper application and send that in. Those are available at licensed vendors and other sporting goods outlets and should be available around mid-May. Or you can apply over the phone by calling 800-406-6409. The deadline to apply for the lottery is Wednesday, June 1st. The 2016 firearms deer season opens November 4th at noon and continues through November 20th. For Jeb Williams and the rest of the staff here at North Dakota Game & Fish, thanks for joining us for Outdoors Online. We'll see you again next week.